Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar, I'm Devdip Purkayastha from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Welcome to my course, Business Fundamentals for Entrepreneurs. This is Module 18, and this is about business information and managing that information. But before I get into the module, do have a look at the screen and remind yourself of the flow and the modules in weeks 9 to 12. So as always, there are 6 topics in this module, and I will talk you through what is business information, what are the uses of business information, what is management information system, also known as MIS, and then a more modern version which is called Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP. And then what are the reports that are used by different roles within a company. All of this is about internal information. So I'll end by talking about external information that a company shares outside the company. Let's start with what is business information. Imagine a company, not a small company, a big company. So one of my ex-employers, very large global company, has 600,000 people almost, works across 220,000 plus countries, moves millions and hundreds of millions of packets across the world, collecting and delivering in hundreds of thousands of postal zones, operating many, many planes and trucks and vehicles. So as this business, this is a service business with a network, for that to operate well, you need the data. Because without the data or information, you will not know what is going on in the operations. Similarly with a car manufacturer, which is manufacturing hundreds of thousands of cars, or a phone manufacturer making millions of phones, or an FMCG manufacturer making billions of soaps and shampoos. So business information is the wide array of data that is related to the operations of the business, and using which managers and employees can take decisions, can operate, can do things, can improve, and so on. Without a business information, you go blind. And that is business information. Let's look deeper and deeper into this domain. So what are the uses of business information? Of course, the basic information is just to keep the business running. If you don't know what's going on, what's being produced, what's being sold, who is doing what, you can't operate. But apart from that, the ultimate objective, of course, is to use the information for continuous improvement, improve performance and financials and results and human working conditions, etc. So you'll see some of the uses of business information on the screen. First is planning and decision making. So if a business is growing over the last 5 years as 10 million $12 million, $15 million, $20 million, you need to forecast and plan what will it be next year or next 3 years or next 5 years. So you have to plan, and that's only for sales, but also machineries and people and new plants and new factories. So you need all the information for planning and decision making. On the left side, you'll see you need information to produce new products, manufacture those products. So you need information to understand what's going on in the market and what new products are needed in the market, how to make those products, how to ensure quality, how to do research and development, how to ship them out, supply chain, and how to bring in the raw material, logistics and supply chain. You also need to account for your business. How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? What's the cash flow? What's the revenues? What's the profits? What's the cost? So financial management, but also risk management. What are the risks in the business? How many machines do I have? What happens if a machine breaks down? Then you need to look at things like how do you analyze and how do you improve? Every company wants to improve. Every company wants to grow. Every company wants to become more profitable. So if you keep analyzing profits, sales, costs, operations, people, wages, salaries, plant efficiencies, all of these you have to analyze so that you can understand what are the gaps and the problems which if you fix, you can improve. Then a lot of customer and market information. What are the customers doing? How big is the customer base? Is it growing or is it declining? Who are the biggest customers? What's happening in the market? What are the competitors doing? Am I losing market share or gaining market share? So these are some of the uses of business information. So every employee, every department, every manager, every factory, every office, every unit, every team needs information. And because you're using that information to manage the business, the collection of all of this is called management information systems. Now, information by itself is useless. Let's look at an e-commerce platform. It's got maybe 10 million or 20 million products, maybe 100 million customers, maybe shipping to thousands or hundreds of thousands of locations, maybe sourcing products from thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of suppliers. That's a lot of information. But information is useless unless you can generate some reports out of it and draw some conclusion and make some analysis and come up with some action plans. So all the reports that come out of the information that a company gathers collectively is called the management information system. And this MIS may produce reports which are daily, sometimes online, real time. For example, a production line, you need real time information to monitor the production line or a machine. So it could be real time, it could be daily sales, it could be weekly, it could be monthly P&L, quarterly revenue reports, annual reports. So it may come out at different frequencies. It can come to different levels, which we'll talk about later on. So this whole information system with which a lot of reports, etc., coming out, which the managers are using to manage the business, collectively is called management information system. Let's have a quick look at some of the MIS reports that may come out. So if you look at the commercial side, the sales side, the customer side, you may have sales reports. Sales by country, sales by state, sales by district, sales by person, sales by a sales territory salesperson, or a sales by a sales officer, or sales by district manager, or sales by divisional manager, or national sales. It could also be division or product-wise sales. So sales report. Customer reports. Who are my customers? How are they performing? Are they growing, declining? What is the size of the customer in terms of sales and volumes? These are all customer reports. And then you have got competition reports. Who are the competitors? What are the products? What are the prices? Who is growing? Who is declining? Who are the new ones that have come in? So all of this is on the commercial customer market side. Then you come into the internal operation side. And then you want to look at what is my production? How many units have I produced? What is my quality? What are my quality rejects? Is my quality 95%, 99%, or 99.9%? Which plant is producing how much? How much raw material am I consuming? My inventory. How much finished good inventory am I storing so I can plan my future production? How much raw material do I have? Am I going to run out or do I have access? How much packaging material? And then you get into manpower. How many people? Do I need to hire more or do I have access manpower? How much am I paying them? What is my wage bill? How is my salary trending? Because there's inflation, so you have to give salary rises. So all of this is around internal operations. And then the financial reports, revenues, costs, profits, overheads, revenues by product, revenues by brand, revenues by category, revenues by division, revenues by area, revenues by country, revenues by state or district, costs by item-wise costs, cost of production, cost of people, cost of supply chain, cost of services, and then profits, different levels of profit, earnings, EBITDA, net profits, gross profits, profits after tax. So these are all reports. They are all called MIS reports collectively. But there's one problem with the earlier generation of MIS reports. They are not connected. So the salesperson could see the sales report, but it may not be connected to the production side. The production people can see the production report, but it may not be connected to the financial side. And therefore, there was a lot of work to connect the various reports. So how much have I produced? What is the price that I've sold at? Maybe one report. Therefore, manually you had to create sales reports, financial reports. So they're not all connected. So then we'll go on to the evolution of business information, which is called ERP. But before we get into ERP, this is a reflection point. I request all of you to reflect for 3 minutes. Think of a company that you know, that you work for, or someone you know works for. It could be an automotive company, a FMCG company, it could be a service company. Think of what would be the information that company would want and is collecting. It's an airlines, it's a hospital, it's a courier company, it's a soaps company, it's a car company, it's a phone company, it's a clothing company. What information do they want? These companies have different kinds of information. A hospital will have very different kind of information than an airline. An airline will have very different kind of information than a soaps and shampoos company. They'll all have different information than a car company. All of them will be very different from a defense company which is making rockets and missiles and drones and aeroplanes. So what kind of company are you thinking of, and what kind of information will that company want? Think about it for 3 minutes, write it down, and think also how will the company use that information? How does a hospital use patient data? How does an airline use flyer data? How does an FMCG company use biscuits data, soaps data, shampoo data? And think about how can they use this information and the kind of reports that can be generated to improve the business. So reflect for 3 minutes.